match number 2 of the day, and it's going to be Ryvius versus Staz. Ryvius on a warrior and Staz on this Secret Hunter as well. Both players 2 and 4, so a lot to go for in terms of this actual match. Whoever takes a win just helps move a little bit further up into the table. But let's take a look at the deck list, as I believe you were talking to Staz about the Secret Hunter specifically, G.
Yeah, I did ask him a couple of questions because after Tyler's controversial statements of Secret Hunter being trash, maybe it's not controversial, but just a hot take, I just wanted to know what was the reasoning for bringing this type of deck. And aside from it being one of the highest win rate variants of Hunter on HS Replay alone, Staz mentioned that it does have pretty good matchups against popular meta decks like Tempo Rogue, like Cyclone Mage, and like Midrange Hunter, which were all pretty decent last week, but not really showing up this week. Instead, we've seen 50% Bomb Warrior representation from APAC, so quite unlucky for Staz and Blitzchung, or maybe they just got the wrong read.
Yeah, one of the problems as well, the greater problems for Staz is not only does he have Ryvius to go up against with his Warrior, so that's one bad matchup. Well, he has Warrior again, as he does play Surrender later this, well, tomorrow actually, not later this weekend, same thing I suppose. And this is Ryvius' Bomb Warrior, and one of the biggest problems about these secrets is what we saw yesterday, where the Warrior doesn't always really have to even interact with the secrets, and while they're waiting, the Hunter doesn't do too much unless they go for a very aggressive early curve and draw that curve, which can be quite difficult to do because you do need to just go 1 into 2 into 3 and with a secret in there somewhere. So I think it's a lot to ask. And also the sideboards as well might not be quite enough to even take down the Warrior in general, because even though there's a sideboard that's built to do more damage, have more staying power, well, the Warrior can still just ignore the secrets, which still cuts a huge chunk of the deck down in power level.
Staz did mention that on the primary decks, he feels unfavored to about 35% chance of winning, which is awful. And even moving on to the secondary, he says, even with the double high mains and a second Unleash the Beast added to the deck, it probably doesn't go above 45 still.
Right.
So this is definitely not what he wanted to run into with the Bomb Warrior, but maybe later today Blitzchung versus Samuel Tsao can show a little bit more strength of the Secret Hunter, but still, in any matchup, Secret Hunter is definitely one of those decks that when it draws the nuts curve, it is really nuts. It has that high roll potential of just one secret, double Secret Keeper, and things like Sunreaver Spy, and if you can get a mass contender in there, sometimes you can just steamroll, so Staz still has that potential to take the matchup.
Yeah, I think it's really scary though, because without even talking about this week in general, of so much of the field being Bomb Warrior, I think for me, submitting a list that is that weak to Bomb Warrior, when Bomb Warrior has been one of the only decks that's consistently being brought to GM, even if it's between, oh, we see 3 to 4 or we see 10. Even in the other regions, Bomb Warrior is always there in some respect, and I don't know if bringing a list that at least Staz feels is that bad, even with your sideboard, is a good idea overall. It's very, very scary. You are relying on your reads a lot with this deck.
And of course, preparing for GM is a lot different than preparing for a field of many like you might see in Vegas next week, because sometimes you can try and think that you have the hard read on your 2 specific opponents for that week, but it is really tough because players like Ryvius, he's done everything you could think of, I think. Even before Grandmasters in the HCT system, Ryvius was one of those players that was rocking these Malagos Mechathune type druids, and he was definitely an innovator, although in his interview, I think he stated he's more of an optimizer than an innovator, but definitely somebody who's not afraid to bring something off the wall.
Yeah, and he makes it work as well. It's not only that, oh, he always brings crazy decks. It's like, well, he brings them, and I think that's probably more reasonable from what he said in terms of optimization, because he brings them, he plays them well, and they get the job done. So I think that's my biggest memory of Ryvius is just seeing him bring the triple Mechathune to playoffs, and we were all like, what? This is just crazy. And then he just made it work. It's like, yeah, okay, well, crazy works sometimes, who knew? But I do think Staz just has a mountain to climb, and I think the more weeks we go through Grandmasters, we actually just see how important everything outside of the game becomes.
True.
If you submit a deck that doesn't quite get there, if your sideboards in secondary and tertiary deck aren't that good, then you will get heavily punished, I think, a lot of the time. And at least for this week, Staz is suffering a bit because both his opponents are warriors. He didn't even manage to dodge one warrior and get something else that his deck would be a little bit more comfortable against. So I am a little bit worried for Staz, and even his secondary with 2 high mains. There's a 9 lives in there as well, but with the 2 high mains and a Leroy, yeah, that's the third one, is I don't know, it doesn't shore up the issues of just drawing no early game.
Yes.
The no master's call, as
Yes.
Tyler brought up, is a huge issue. Hunters went through a long period of sucking because they didn't have any way to draw
Dark
cards.
times for you, Raven.
Yeah, it was rough. I still played it. But you would get to turn 6 or 7 and be more or less out of cards, and you were playing off the top of your deck. And with the power level that all the classes have in Hearthstone right now, you can't just run out of cards by turn 7 and expect to win games. So it really is heavily reliant on Staz just giving a really, really good opening here. I think we are just waiting for Ryvius to be ready. So if you're enjoying Talkstone, blame him. But let's talk about Vegas, though.
Sure.
Again, I won't ask you what you're going to bring or
Favorite
anything
topic.
like that. Of course, Gia is competing, which is why she won't answer me. But most importantly, just in case you didn't know, it's going to be broadcast next weekend, live from Vegas. And it will be different to GM as well, as the players are just getting ready. It will be different to GM because, as you mentioned briefly, when you submit a deck for GM, you are going to run into 2 matches, 2 players, and that's it for the weekend. You can resubmit the week after. For Vegas, it will be hundreds of
Yes.
people there. You have to submit a lineup that can take down, or at least on average, win more matches against anything that anyone may turn up with. So I'm going to make a prediction that the secondary and tertiary decks are going to be way less. I play this against Mage and I play this against this, because the problem is with more than 100 competitors, you can't just say, well, my main deck's good enough against all the other things people might bring, and then I have 2 decks against 2 specific archetypes.
For sure, and we were already seeing a little bit of that philosophy, I think, from, for example, Don's list come to mind from this week, because he had a secondary in his Token Druid, which was running double Ooze and double Hungry Crab, which is like, it doesn't necessarily shout out this is anti-Shaman, but I guess now Murloc Shamans are running Lickem and the Thunderhead
Right.
package, so it's good against Shaman, but I think the double Ooze also has the added benefit of shoring up the Rogue matchup. So maybe there's ways of building a secondary and tertiary deck that hit more than just one matchup, but it's so difficult to find that balance of
Yeah.
how much you're going to remove and put in.
And also as well about that one specifically, the Hungry Crabs, a Token Druid running a 1-mana 1/2 isn't really the end of the world
True.
either.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cheap minion to play out and maybe couple with a buff or a kind of death rattle bonus like Silver Forest. So yeah, I think stuff like that is going to be more common, especially in the big tours where there's way more opponents. But now we are done with give you an update on Vegas. Let's talk about this game as we do get into it now. Staz versus Ryvius, the Secret Hunter versus the Bomb Warrior.
Yes, and the Secret Hunter has Subject 9 in the opening this time, which we did not see from Blitzchung, unfortunately, from him last time, but I do think it would have solved a lot of the problems he had with card draw. Now for Staz, I just wonder if he wants to keep this tracking, because talking to him before his match, he mentioned that the double tracking is crucial in the primary and also not removed in the secondary, because it really helps you make sure you have the high main on 6, which is the most powerful thing you can do in the matchup. He chooses to throw it away here, which I think is fine, because he would rather draw things like the Secret Keeper or even Sunreaver Spy. He kept Snipe though, which is an interesting choice, but it does deal with the majority of the 3 drops from the
It
Hunter,
does, yeah,
if
yeah.
not all of them. From the Warrior, sorry.
Yeah, Snipe's pretty well positioned against Warrior overall, and even if they bait out, you know, they throw Snipe into a Rover, then still fine actually. Yeah, it's only killing a 1-drop, but it's an annoying 1-drop.
Yep.
Speaking of annoying 1-drops, Ryvius has an army of them right now, and
And
this is already going to be annoying for Staz.
Look at that opening hand from Ryvius. That's like the nuts against any aggro matchup. And Staz can buff up the Secret Keeper to take a value trade on the Eternium Rover, but I mean, this is a nightmare for Secret Hunter. You're thinking, hey, I'm supposed to be the aggressor here.
Yeah, and I'll just outline the curve overall for Staz, even though we've already looked at the list. It's a load of secrets, 1, 2, and 3 drops, and then Life Drinkers, and then a Subject 9 and a single Unleash the Beast,
Yes.
and then Zul'jin at the end. So there is, in this primary list, no punchy mid-game. Like, it doesn't really exist. All the work has to be Staz getting it done right now, and already he's trading, and this Secret Keeper maybe doesn't know it yet, but he's already dead.
And the secret package from Staz is 1 explosive, 2 freezing, 2 rat, 1 snake, 1 snipe. So Ryvius is thinking it's more likely to be rat or freezing, in which case I don't think he's concerned about risking snakes, because the board state with snakes on here, if you'd see 3 more 1/1s, he's not even too worried about it. The snipe is a little annoying for him, but he's still very much ahead on board. And the secret was used up, so the Sunreaver Spy is just a River Croc. I do think you might have to play it though, because coining out Mark Shot here means that his turn 4 is too weak, and he loses the turn 4 possibility of coining Subject 9.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Spy's not going to gain any secrets this time.
Yep. And wow, free food for either a Militia Commander or Wrench Caliber.
Wrench Caliber feels pretty good.
I'm just thinking about the possibilities from Staz. I guess Ryvius, having seen the keep of that one card on the far left, would be thinking about coin Subject 9, in which case it's nicer to have the Militia Commander in hand. So I also do like the Wrench Caliber.
I also think as well the Militia Commanders can be useful for other things. It might not be as relevant now because the snipe's used, but it soaks a snipe,
True.
It procs a freezing trap, it doesn't die to an explosive trap, later at least, most of the time. So I feel like it being more reactive, it could make Ryvius' turn way more flexible next turn if he had the Militia Commander in hand and the Wrench Caliber already equipped.
Yeah. I do agree. And I think the Wrench Caliber only deals with a select range of minions from Staz. Like, it can't get there against the Mass Contenders or the Unleash the Beasts, whereas the Militia Commander can one-shot those, sometimes even take a value trade. But it's a small matter because Ryvius is still very much ahead. And now Staz can finally get the Subject 9 going if he wants to, and he would draw, I think, 3 secrets, because the Snake and the Snipe are one-ofs, and he's already drawn the Snake and played a Snipe.
Yep, so it'll be Explosive, Freezing Trap, and Rat Trap.
Yeah, so it wouldn't cause any hand size issues.
Most importantly, it gets the rubbish stuff out of the deck. And I don't mean rubbish stuff in terms of cards, but if you have one card that draws 3, like shoots 3 specific things out of your deck, it means your average draw is going to be that much more powerful, because drawing a secret is not the most powerful draw even close to it in the deck.
Right. It's the same reasoning for wanting to play Crystology before Prismatic Lens, for example, because you want to get the specific draw conditions out of the way. Ryvius, he's got Boom ready for next turn. I think he's in a super solid position here. Just wants to think about whether he's going to expend a Shield Slam on this. I think it's perfectly fine. Wow. Also got the other Boom ready for next turn, and given a swing with the Wrench this turn and the next turn.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Next turn, Ryvius can just play either Blastmaster if he wants just the static bots on board, or he can go Dr. Boom, Mad Genius. Then the turn after can be Blastmaster, and with a highly likely chance, I think, of being able to Shield Slam something as well, because it's unlikely he drops that low on armor this over 2 turns when he gains 7 armor from the Dr. Boom hero anyway.
To me, it's just crazy how Ryvius is just winning from all fronts here. The Hunter is supposed to be the aggressor. Ryvius has just had the board from turn 1, and Staz is on 18. And aside from that, he's also winning in terms of control, because he's just at 43, and with Boom Mad Genius in hand that pretty much can go toe-to-toe with the nearly full hand from Staz. It's insane.
And this is why we keep talking about how consistent, solid, and just well-built Bomb Warrior is right now, because Ryvius has kept up in the aggression. Yes, he's drawn very well, but he's kept up with his minions. This deck often plays a tempo plan, but also it can run enough removal to play a defensive plan.
Yes.
And there really aren't many decks that can do both well. And I think Bomb Warrior does both very well.
It reminds me very much of Hunter from before Rise of the Shadows, when we were still in the last year, where you can still have Deathstalker Rexar, because you can just play aggressive cards but have that one Death Knight shore up your entire late game. And that's the same concept with Bomb Warrior. And even though these Boom bots don't have Rush, Unleash the Hounds could be pretty useful for Staz here. The ordering on this is always a little bit wonky, because I think you would rather have more stuff on board to soak up bomb damage, but the things that soak up bomb damage can then not charge if it gets hit. But I think the turn is going to look like remove the bombs into Deadly Shot the lone Boom after it's left.
Can even coin out Rat Trap.
Sure.
Which I think is a good use of the coin for Staz. I don't think Staz needs to save the coin for anything right now.
Alternatively, he could go for Unleash the Beast and trade off Dr. Boom and then deal with the Boom bots next turn, but I feel like that is just taking 4 extra damage when you don't really need to.
Yep.
Who to shoot?
There's also a Marked Shot triple trade Unleash out, but I think, yeah, this is just the best order to do it. Although the one damage onto the boom might not have mattered, but he just wants to maximize the number of pounds. As long as enough of them survive to deal with the boom bots, that the shot will do the job.
Which is guaranteed, right?
I think this is close to the best outcome for Staz because he's getting to this point where he doesn't want to take any more face damage. And because bombs could just be too threatening at that point, and he's not running skill hides.
Yep.
Not that any Secret Hunter does.
It's rough, isn't it? He does have this unlimited weapon. Well, I call it unlimited weapon, but you know what I mean. It's a weapon with a lot of chances of getting tons of durability because there's no real way to break the weapons because Staz actually, sorry, Ryvius isn't actually running any weapon removal, which means that this Eaglehorn longbow.
Yeah, no weapons project, no Harrison. So Staz's best resource is exactly the Eaglehorn bow, and he can go for a 5/5 and freezing trap here, which at least would I was gonna say it might eat up the Zilliax or delay the Zilliax, but Ryvius has got this triple microbot hero power, so he can play around freezing as well. It's pretty crazy. Instead, Staz is gonna go for the hero power. Not exactly sure why, but maybe he's just trying to weave it in every single turn because the hand's starting to look light.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's probably worth just pressing the button, right?
Yeah. From Ryvius's perspective, that could very well still be a freezing because he has not tested for rat or freezing yet.
Okay, then.
So I think the turn starts with pressing the button. He could maybe rush one microbot in after he sees it's not freezing. I think he should know it's either rat or explosive because he's seen snake and snipe.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I think Ryvius just needs to make sure he doesn't do anything silly this game now.
Right.
And like just do something that if Staz has Zul'jin on curve, or at least a powerful Zul'jin at some point, he doesn't just like kind of randomly lose. Let me see now, the micro squad's just going to clean this up and just... Ryvius is just okay with it.
Yeah.
He will win eventually because of bombs.
Interesting the way he ordered it, so that if there was a freezing, he could have bounced the bomb generator and then gotten another bomb, which I quite like that. There was no immediate need to Zilliax that turn because he's so dang healthy, and the Zul'jin is still not available for Staz. Not that it would do particularly much. It would summon 5/5s and maybe some hounds and then put back secrets, but it wouldn't be drawing Staz cards, which is...
Ooh, that's a good pickup.
Yeah.
Assemble some Omegas.
This is looking even more of a stomp than Tyler versus Blitzchung the other day, which is saying something because that was a stomp.
Yeah, the opening from Ryvius was really nice, but the biggest problem, as you can see here, you were saying that, oh, Zul'jin doesn't do much. He doesn't do much because the secrets don't really have to be interacted with for a while, even post Zul'jin. Whereas other decks that do have to try and pressure their opponent via minions or other ways have to proc the secrets that are replayed by Zul'jin, which gives the hunter more tempo and more sort of staying power normally. But there's another bomb going down, putting Staz to 8, which means, you know, not much more damage, and he's just dead.
Yeah.
Oof.
And you saw Ryvius hold on to the Goblin Bomb and not attack with the Safeguard there because he knows 100% these are rat and freezing, I think. Oh wait, there's still the possibility of explosive, was there?
But he's okay, that's what I mean. He's okay just playing slow. He does. Staz is able to burn a bomb and not take the damage with it, so that's -1 bomb in the deck there with the tracking.
Do you think you'd take the Companion here? Kill Command can deal with the Safeguard, but I think Staz's only out, and I say this in air quotes because it's a very flimsy out, is to have a nuts Zul'jin. And Zul'jin summoning more animal companions is quite good, and maybe in that world Ryvius doesn't have the Brawl.
Right.
You can see he has Warpath though.
It's tough. He's taken this to just try and get through and leave this Wyvern alive.
I suppose.
The problem is he gets to push some damage with the bow if he wants to, but the real problem is it isn't asking a lot for Ryvius to just kill this Wyvern. And if he kills it, then what else does Staz do? Not that Animal Companion would have been game-winning for him particularly, but it's tough.
I really think it's just an all-in on Zul'jin type of game plan. Not that that ever gets there against any type of AoE from Ryvius.
this would be a good time for a master plan.
Just Dinomatic and push the button. Seems fine. You could even drop the Goblin Bomb because he's seen the 1-up Unleash the Hounds from Staz. Maybe you don't go super wide because then Zul'jin's a little scarier with the unleashes, but it's not like there's Timberwolves and Dire Frenzies to make that scary.
That's it. I don't think it is that scary, right?
It's not.
You just Warpath it and you're like, okay, gone. You know, worst case scenario, I mean. You can press Warpath and forget about it. Mark Shot going to come down now. Dire Frenzy might be good. Master's Call doesn't really cut it.
Yeah.
And Snake Trap, well,
I mean,
okay.
I feel like he still takes the Master's Call to draw something, and it's going to be the first time in a long time that I'll see Master's Call actually giving you the option to discover a beast.
How long's a long time?
What to do?
Months, Raven.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't play Mally Hunter?
Not even going to respond to that.
That deck was sick. Geppetto Mally Hunter. It was amazing.
I did open a Varisa, so I was tempted, but then if Tyler was going to call this deck trash, I'm going to call that mega trash.
Nope. I'm sure I had like upwards of 70% win rate on day one. It proves it's a good deck, right?
Yeah, that's how Hearthstone works.
I thought so.
He is going to go with the Snake Trap, though. Maybe try and bluff Explosive so that Ryvius doesn't just push even more damage here. But it's getting to that point where just between this Zap Cannon and the Goblin Bomb dying, if Ryvius does think it's explosive, it's just one bomb and one damage away.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd, right? And the second it's not explosive, he just pushes so much extra damage without Ziliax.
Yeah, I think he does just magnetize Ziliax here and then attack with one of the smaller things to see. Okay, well now he knows it's not explosive and he's just free to push all the damage in the world. I just want Ryvius to end Staz's suffering. Like, I said about Tyler's interview that it was shots fired the way he called this deck trash, but certainly this isn't the matchup that makes Secret Hunter look good, but man, has it never looked worse than any other deck against Bombman.
And that's the problem. Bear in mind that what we've seen of it this weekend so far is against Warriors. So the issue really for me is regardless of how good any given deck is, if it has something that it just can't consistently or even realistically beat, and then that thing is a popular deck, well, I think you're just asking for it by submitting it. To be honest, for me at least, Ryvius takes the win. And it might have not been the biggest build-up for the win in the world, but that's because we saw it coming about 5, 6, 7 turns out beforehand. But that's the problem. I don't really know how Staz does it. He can get there if he curves into a high main, or maybe even to 2 high mains, which would be enough, because there isn't even a Dire Frenzy. So you can't even say, I'm going to Dire Frenzy high mains and keep just putting big dudes on the board, because it's not going to be enough. And Ryvius, I doubt he's even going to change. I don't think he needs to change anything. There's a tiny argument for going with the Silence and the Weapons projects to break the weapons, so he could change there. He loses an Elic, a Devastator, a Geppetto, and 2 Omega Assemblies, so I could see him move into Tertiary, but I don't even think you particularly need to.
Yeah, I mean, just the Spellbreaker can maybe help you deal with high
Yeah,
mains,
that's
but
what
I think
it's like, sure.
The matchup's already great, so I'm inclined to say if it's not broke, don't fix it. It is in fact broken, not broke. As a side note though, I also want to say that Staz's Master Call might have not drawn anything at that point, because there are only 3 beasts in the deck, double Life Drinker and Subject 9. And I'm not sure if he had played 2 Life Drinker, just one.
It discovers a minion, not just a beast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, if they're... Oh,
why do you think I said it played in Mally? That would be a terrible card choice to play in Mally Hunter. None of your minions are beasts. It would have worked very badly. But yeah, it discovers a minion, but if the minions it discovers are all beasts, you draw them all. But if they are not beasts, you discover a minion out your deck and draw it as is.
Hunter, like, I hardly ever read the card text on those cards. I still
Professional caster doesn't read card text. That's a scary thing to admit to on the desk.
It's Master's Call. What do you have to read? You play it, you draw 3, you win, right?
I guess that's true in most Hunter cases, but not all. But yeah, I don't know what's going on here with Staz. We're going to find out what decks have moved to. I am imagine strongly that Staz is going to move on to this high main. It's the deck that he would rather play versus the Warrior. Ryvius could just change over to Tertiary. I think it's absolutely fine. He has silence and weapon removal. And also, the additional Town Crier is actually pretty good. You saw how good the 1-drops were in the previous game, and it also means that you're drawing more consistently into even more minions that get work done against this Hunter. So we'll find out very quickly, but I don't know. I think this is one of the biggest whiffs in terms of deck submission, not only from Staz but from Blitzchung as well, that I've seen in League so far. Staz is going to be moving over to his secondary, but Ryvius hasn't changed from his primary, so I guess we can take a look at Staz's secondary list. So like I said, Ryvius had the option of silence, weapon removal, and an extra 1-drop, and was like, nah, I prefer Japao. And he's kept those instead. He just deems that his deck's just good enough.
I mean, it really is. I think maybe the Omega Assembly was the decision point there, because losing 2 of those could create this world where he can't beat a late game Zul'jin on curve. I think no matter what he chooses, even the secondary would still be favored, but yeah, I do think it makes sense for Ryvius to stick on his primary. But let's talk about Staz's secondary, because as we mentioned, there's 3 high mains in here, the 9 lives being the 3rd, but no Dire Frenzy, so it's pretty much on Staz to play these on turn 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, and then just try and land that damage to the face, because I don't know if just the Unleash the Beast get there.
Yeah, one problem he does have as well is he's cut 2 Life Drinkers, which means that his turn 4 play is pretty much out of the window.
True.
And also that's extra reach and some heal that can help just make the difference between the bombs going off. So even the cuts there, he's still going to feel it, I think, because he probably couldn't afford to cut any of the secret package, and then you're running out of things that are even cuttable in the list if you're going to keep the secret package, so it has to be somewhere. But I do think the Life Drinkers just going away just causes even more of a gap that Ryvius can just jump on and be like, well, if you're not going to hard curve me, then that's fine, and these bombs will now consistently do even more damage.
Yeah, that means the healing is limited to strictly the 5 armor from Zul'jin, and I actually think I miscounted the high mains. There are 4 of them, because you get another 9 lives off of Zul'jin if you're a good player, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So you got Scar, Mufasa, and then they come back from the dead.
Or it's just Simba and Nala when they're grown up.
Sure.
Is the other 2? Although it wouldn't work because it's
No,
a male lion.
those are the ones that come off of the death rattle, right?
No, those are the hyenas. I can't remember the
Oh, it's
names
Whoopi
of the
Goldberg
hyenas.
and someone.
Yeah. I'm sure the name of the actual character name of the hyena is not Whoopi Goldberg. That would be really random. Voice
My
acting.
childhood is ruined, Raven. In any case, Staz has the high main in the opening hand, which is great, but no Secret Keeper I don't think is too awful for him here. But now that the snipe has been activated, Mass Contender won't go off for turn 3.
Yeah, I don't even think Ryvius... Normally you're upset when an Acolyte gets sniped.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that bothered. He draws a card. The secret isn't down now, so it's hard. It takes a little bit longer to activate Eaglehorn Warbow. But also, as you said, the Mass Contender won't go off either. And he knows what secret it is, and now he knows that he never has to worry about a snipe until Zul'jin's played. I think, although not the best outcome for Ryvius, of course, I think it was just fine, and now he can just curve 3 into 4.
And Staz, quite sad to play the Mass Contender for no additional value, but it does challenge the 1-2 and has the added benefit of coming down before the turn 4 answers are available for Ryvius in the form of Militia Commander and Wrench Caliber. And now Staz can use the Smart Shot to clean up the board.
When you pep talk to how good a 3-drop performs is it can contest a 1-2,
Yeah.
it's definitely a scary moment.
Fated Arrow, I know the card decks on that one, and it's pretty high value card and something decent to get off Zul'jin too.
Yeah, it's just something to do, most importantly, that might put a threat on the board depending on what the state looks like when Staz gets to turn 5.
The problem is, if he takes this value trade, which if he doesn't, it would signal something pretty fishy to Ryvius, I think, then the likely outcome is Ryvius goes for a Militia Commander onto the Mass Contender, and the Commander would still have 3 health, so you couldn't get the overkill value. But it's not like the Baited Arrow has to be played on turn 5 to be good. It can still be good later. Staz could answer the 2-3 Commander with Eaglehorn Bow.
Do you even care that much? I think you go face, right? Because if going face makes Ryvius think there's something fishy going on, what's Ryvius going to do about it?
He could trade in the 1-2, but yeah, you're
Cool.
right. That's not
You've
bad.
gained
Yeah,
2 damage.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good
Like
point.
there's
Yeah.
no drawback. Oh, I think so much fishing's going on, so I'm going to throw away my 1-2, and my opponent's gained +2 damage.
Actually, I would have liked to see that. You're right, Raven.
But I think what this shows, this trade for me at least, is that Staz probably wants to just go weapon into Sunreaver Spy
Sure.
the next turn and just curve out like that. Just get the weapon live, because then secrets coming up
Oh,
are going to be
okay.
a little bit better.
This looks like a better way to curve out. Buff both the Secret Keeper and the Sunreaver Spy.
Oh, it does now, yeah. Especially after seeing the weapon. It means that you can get 2 minions down, one won't just get cleaned up.
Right.
But I think beforehand, just getting stuff down instead of trying to set a baited arrow is fine.
For Ryvius now, he's worried about Freezing Trap, I think, which would mean the Militia Commander could not deal with the Sunreaver Spy.
Yeah, you just do it.
Yeah.
Be brave. There's also, let me check, -1 freezing trap. So there's only 1 in the deck.
Ah, yes.
So it's just, you know, throw it in there with the snipes of this deck.
I suppose Snake would have been annoying for him too, but not a major thing because he's got Warpath in hand. There's also the thing he has to consider about what's the turn 6 from Staz, which is most likely high main. But now Staz actually has an option because Baited Arrow gets guaranteed value if it's played this turn. But I still quite
Nope,
like the
all
high
I
main.
see is
Yeah,
the high main.
me too.
That is the only card I ever see here.
Yeah. And it's not like Ryvius is gonna ram in the 2-2. Well, maybe there's a world where he gets like,
Shield box, shield slam
right.
into trade.
Yeah. But yeah, high main on curve. Staz says this is the only way to win the matchup, so let's see if it can get there.
So Ryvius just tested the secret first.
Yeah, he knows it's not explosive.
So he just knows it's rat now, right? Snipe's gone, it's not explosive.
Yeah, he's also tested for
He tested
freezing
for
last
Snake
turn.
by trading
Yeah,
as well,
sorry,
so...
That's correct. So
What now?
this turn it looks like just playing minions, right? Because he just didn't have a clean way to answer high main. And it's very rare that the warrior has a clean answer to high main on curve, which is the whole reason you play the card. And now Staz can get pretty nice baited arrow onto this 2-2.
All I want to see from Staz now is a lot of going face. The baited arrow is fine. You get hero power as well. But then next turn, bow, kill, command, hero power, depending on card draw, of course. And just go aggression, because I don't think Staz, even with high mains, is winning this late game.
There's a world where he goes for 1-3-3, cleans up the whole board, or maybe the Eagle Horn even goes face, because you're not too concerned about leaving up the 2-2. It's more of whether you want to leave up a mech, because Ziliax is an ever-present threat.
Oh, it's a lot of damage though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you can still send the high main face. And I think not using the arrow on the Militia Commander is great. I mean, the bow, because in the next turn he could still have it as a baited arrow target, should he so choose.
Now.
So it looks like he's going to go for 1, 3, and 3.
He has removed 2 deadly shots as well, so if there is a big mech, it means there's going to be fewer answers. There's -1 bomb as well, so he's at two bombs now, I think, in the deck.
Oh, down to 1, I think.
Oh, did 1 go off? Wait,
There was
one
a Wrench Caliber and...
double swings
the-
of Wrench Caliber, and didn't he play a Goblin? Or am I thinking last game? I think I'm thinking about last game.
yeah, I think
Ignore
so.
me.
But anyway, I'm surprised that Staz, like, I looked at Leroy as my first reaction, but of course, over the long run, Unleash the Beast is way more value. But I was thinking, why not play Unleash the Beast there? Because it trades over the 4/5 cleanly and means he keeps kill command in hand. But maybe he wanted to make sure that the Militia Commander couldn't just then trade into the 5/1 and leave him without a baited arrow target. But I still think I would have liked to see Unleash the Beast there. But high main going face always happens.
Yeah.
Curve. Simple. And now the baited arrow can finally see the light of day, I think. Oh, wow. What's better than 1 high main?
10. But for 2, it will do for now.
Yes.
I think also there was a point of actually just going for Unleash the Beast that turn with hero power. It fits curve more. And remember, baited arrow can just go face for 3.
Sure.
Which is good right now. And honestly, I said a few turns ago, Staz just needs to go hyper aggressive.
But now Ryvius is in a pretty strong position with the boom online. Staz thinking about whether he should clear off this 2-2. Now that he doesn't, I think Ryvius can clear off the front halves of the high mains by doing this. It's guaranteed along with the trade. Oh, not guaranteed. There was an outcome where 4 of them, and one hits the weakened one, and then and 2 high mains survive. But
and I really like this play from Staz actually, because the more he does this and goes aggressive, the more likely it is that Ryvius has to prop the rat trap, which then gives the bow another charge, puts a 6/6 on the board, and so on, so on.
Yeah, I did like that as well. Okay, surely this is a baited arrow turn, right? Because you can fit in the hero power and the Sun Reverse Spy.
Baited arrow goes face this game.
Well, we want to hero power this turn, I'm pretty sure. The Unleash the Beast accomplishes just as much as the baited arrow would, with the downside of not being able to play Sun Reverse Spy with it. And the baited arrow beast is at full health. I guess he's just thinking, okay, what is the punish if he ends up... That always happens.
He can put his opponent to 7 this turn if he just goes face with everything and hero powers, right? And then he has another 5 from hand next turn. So without armor gain, something needs to hit Ryvius for 2 next turn. And he wins. So I think I would have liked to see the baited arrow held there, just because it's damage to face. This is going to fill the turn pretty nicely, of course. It's going to be very mana efficient.
I think
and there's still a lot of damage represented that Ryvius has to deal with.
This is good to play around Warpath. I think having the 5/5 at full health instead of the Unleash the Beast trade and then not be full health means that the Warpath could clear up everything, because this Clockwork Bomb could go into the high main.
It does prot the rat trap though.
Ah, that's a good point. All of these... Okay. Scrap Hound does help shore up the health total a little bit.
If the 2/2 lives, then Scrap Hound can do the job, and also still fly under the radar of the rat.
Under the rat radar. And that's very annoying for Staz.
This is the worrying part now. What was that? I didn't see. Oh, okay, okay.
Companion. So this is a very awkward mana total, of course, because he'd love to be able to weave in the hero power every turn.
I think he just goes for the Unleash the Beast hero power.
Yeah, I quite like it, because at this point, I think he just needs to believe that the companion is Huffer, in which case it'll be 4 damage whenever you choose, right?
Yeah, and even if not, if it's Leok, then it potentially buffs the beast next turn anyway.
Problem here is that this dies straight up to Dinomatic, but Staz has seen one. Probably can't put Ryvius in having the other.
I mean, that's a problem. You live in constant fear of that problem since most minions die to Dinomatic anyway, so...
Shield block is pretty insane here.
Yeah, along with Dinomatic into hero power. Oh, he's gonna Shield Slam instead. I guess that's one of the few times he's going to get use out of Shield Slam. If he keeps getting hit, then it means that he's not going to gain much armor outside the Blast Shield.
And I guess he knew that playing the Dinomatic, it would just get eaten up by the other Unleash the Beast, in which case you would less rather Shield Slam a 5/2 than a 5/5. Yeah, Staz is on a Zul'jin draw to stay in the game, or Subject 9, or the second tracking into one of those, I suppose, but everything else looks like air here. He just cannot race the Blast Shield hero power.
Not many people can. I think he just goes again. He's going to get Shield Slammed, but...
Probably just
at worst, he locks it in for Zul'jin, right?
He probably just plays the Secret Keeper as well. Yeah, it is locked in for Zul'jin. That's the most relevant thing. So he's got 16 cards left in deck. One of those is a bomb, I think. And Ryvius can just slip out of range. Not even slip, just like run away out of range.
Yeah, that's the one of the few positives for Staz right now is he's nowhere near dying anytime soon, which means he can set up and try and wait for that Zul'jin draw. But Ryvius, like every turn, I feel like he gets further and further away from caring about that one-arm troll.
So he's hovering over Dinomatic, and the worst outcome is 4 on the 5/5 and 1 on the Secret Keeper, in which case he needs to rush into the 5/1 and leave up the Secret Keeper.
You could just Warpath.
Yeah, it's not even bad. The Warpath would trigger Rat Trap, though, as you mentioned before.
Wait, would it? You only play 2 cards.
Oh, you mean
You don't
after
need to-
the...
yeah,
oh,
post.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
If you just Warpath once.
Okay.
Because that would have left a clean...
Right, yeah.
Wait, was that just better?
I'm not sure.
Because
Maybe
he would have left it with a minion on board. He would have had a 3/4. Maybe he doesn't care about having a minion on board, but it guarantees a clear, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of tunneling on saving these for post-Zul'jin clears, but I quite like pushing the initiative while he has this window of Staz drawing air.
Yeah, well, my question is, do you need 2 for post-Zul'jin clears? You need 1, right?
And that would proc the replayed Rat Trap if it got... maybe you want the other one to clear up the board of Rat Trap plus the next thing, but I don't know. He just seems so far ahead that it won't matter too much. Staz gets the best draw in his deck that isn't Zul'jin, I think, and Subject 9. I guess 9 lives would have been pretty good too into 3rd high main. But that's definitely one of the better ones.
Maybe
Because there's a lot of dead draws I can see
another
here.
bow might not have been the most horrible thing in the world. Could just push more damage.
So he's going to cash out on the Animal Companion now. Trying to put something on board that won't just die straight up to the microbots. We'll get the bad news that there's, like, if Ryvius wants even Rover double Warpath and Hero Power and just have... Oh, sorry, that would put up the Rat Trap. So maybe it's just double Warpath.
I think it would be fine though, right?
Yeah, he can Shield Slam the Rat
Yeah.
Trap. But the problem is, if he's expecting Zul'jin soon, then you would rather have not proc the Rat Trap and have it replayed.
I think overall this plus Hero Power is just like, yeah. It's fine. He ends up positive on board. He's still not proccing this Rat Trap.
It's insane.
It's not a big effort to proc it.
Another Blast Shield.
Another high main.
Oh, yeah. But in this case, I do think Ryvius ends up with the upper hand.
I mean, high main into high main's a pretty... Well, sorry, not high main. The Death Rattle into high main at least is a board from nowhere, which is close to what Zul'jin does.
Whoopi, the other guy, and Mufasa. So is there a way that he can proc the Rat Trap on top of doing everything this turn? But even so, he can just do Shield Slam and Ziliax. Still just 2 cards. Doesn't clear everything.
Could he even just Ziliax and go face if he really wanted to?
Sure. I do like trying to push some initiative because there is so little healing from Staz, just the Zul'jin armor, that any damage Ryvius deals is essentially permanent.
Unleash the hounds,
Hound.
not the beast. Ryvius could get wonders from this delivery drone as well, and with Ziliax, it does alter what minions you can go for because it means that it could just be very, very strong like that Beryllium Nullifier.
Yeah, onto the Eternium Rover. 5/11 can't be targeted. Staz removed deadly shots from the secondary deck, so that's pretty much never dying. And I would like to see that because then it's just something that Ryvius can push face with every turn.
This would be a good time for
Starting
a
next
master
turn.
plan.
Yep, just gonna go for it here, clearing up the 5/4. And the buff on this thing seemed like one of the most unnecessary buffs next to Crystology only.
It did. It was just a pure bonus in the fact that it doesn't change whether you put it in your deck or not. It just makes it a little bit better when you discover it.
What does Subject 9 even draw at this point? No more than 2 secrets, I'm pretty sure. Maybe?
1 Rat Trap and the Explosive Trap from the top of my head.
Yeah.
If I'm using my mental deck tracker.
What to do?
But
I
more
would not
importantly,
download that app, the Raven's Mental Deck Tracker.
You would if you were playing Hunter.
Sure.
Most
okay.
importantly, though, it's just a minion. It's just something on the board that actually gets some damage.
That looks like more than 2. My bad. In fact, it's 4. Wow. And the Snipe and the Snake from last game trip me up. But at least for Staz, this is thinning out the air from his deck, gets him closer to that all-important Zul'jin, and it is real juiced. Ryvius does not have Brawl in hand.
Wait, didn't Ryvius coin Acolyte into snipe this game?
Yes. But there was no snipe drawn. That was a snake blade.
Oh right, I'm being stupid. Yes, I'm getting.
No, it's all good. It's hard to keep track of these
now
things.
I'm going down the rabbit hole of these secrets, and I really
Don't
shouldn't.
worry.
I'm overcomplicating it.
Don't worry.
I thought there was like a secret generated somehow. I was like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah,
Cards like Mark Shot mess with me.
yeah, and the contender didn't go off, but it was in play.
Right.
But in any case, Ryvius is proccing the snake trap here. Can clean up most of this with Warpath if he wants to. I think there's a way to deal with even the rat, but I guess he's dedicated to just.
Yeah, this is so sick.
I was wondering if he puts the 2 1/1s into the subject 9. You double Warpath. At that point, I think the rat trap procs, and then he could trade the nullifier and do another Warpath on the rat. But that loses his nullifier, so this is just clearly better.
Yeah, and he just 2 bombs go off as well. Stazzy's just gonna die, and there's nothing he can do about it. No Zul'jin bomb 6. It's gonna feel bad, but when you don't accelerate accelerate the deck with cards along the lines of Master's Call, then it happens. It's something that happens more and more often in Secret Hunter than it does in mid-range, because you can't thin your deck as quickly as you normally can.
The taunt on this is insane too, because Staz cannot isolate the 8/8 for freezing trap even.
Well, also as well, he even can see Ryvius can just discover a playable mech
True.
next turn to rush and proc freezing anyway, unless there was exactly 0 minions on board, which means there's nothing to rush it into, so it can't get an attack off. But it's just, I don't know, this is a mess.
He can clear the 8/8 with Unleash the Hounds, but in the meantime, Ryvius will gain a whole ton of armor. There's still a 3/1 on board. But you know what?
His health will go up to 4.
I think Staz has to bite the bullet and do it. How much time does he have left? If the 8/8 goes face, and Ryvius will play around these other secrets, so it will go face, Staz dies to 1 bomb. Granted, I think all the bombs have gone off, but at any point Ryvius can discover or play a new one.
It really is just a lose-lose scenario right now, because if Staz doesn't trade into this minion, Ryvius gets hit him in face. That deals 8 damage, and also, most importantly, also heals Ryvius a stupid amount.
Yeah.
And then if he does deal with it, well, it heals Ryvius a stupid amount. He doesn't have any minions left. So there's nothing that Staz can realistically do. My warrior deck tracker is not as good in my head, but Geppetto might even discover a bomb. There's 1 goblin left in the deck, right?
I think so. Oh, sorry, there was still 1 bomb left in deck. In which case, this is absolutely insane.
And the bomb probably
just
gives him lethal.
Yep, most likely.
Unless the bomb does exactly 1 damage. And
Damn.
it did the perfect 2. Ryvius takes the series over Staz 2-0, and this is a word. Just yes for Staz, for Ryvius?
No, I mean, I was saying, yes, that's what happened.
Oh, right, I thought you were like, yes. I was like, it's your teammate, Gia.
Hello?
Come on, savage. But what worries me the most here is if that plus Blitzchunk's series is what happens with the Secret Hunter versus Warrior, then this was not the week to bring Secret Hunter, because Staz's match tomorrow is against Surrender, who is also playing Bomb Warrior. So this is just going to go from bad to worse, and Staz goes 2-5. But Ryvius actually goes up to 3-4 now, so helps move himself towards evening that score up and maybe contending for a top 3 spot later in the season.
I do want to say that Staz looked like he was in a good spot in the mid game with having the double high mains and eventually getting the 9 lives, but the Zul'jin being too far down was awful for him. And granted, we could say the Blastmaster Boom was also too far down for Ryvius, and if had it been any higher, Staz could have died a lot sooner, but I'm not really sure what the average outcome is in this particular matchup between the secondary, but I do think a Zul'jin there could have swung everything around because Ryvius didn't have the brawl in hand. But good on Ryvius for knowing he just never needed to proc the rat trap, and that won him the game.
Just going under that rat trap and just having the warpaths for so long, holding on to them for ages until he was just happy with saying, well, if I play them now, I'm safe anyway, was really, really good there. So yeah, Ryvius takes the series. and we've got a Hunter Mirror coming up. So we've got a Secret Hunter versus mid-range in the form of Blitzchung versus Samuel Zhao. That's coming up as our feature match, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.